Verify, I found your most recent letter very confusing that came with the invitation. It says, while the actual use of new tax revenues to the town is entirely up to the select board, on the reverse side, it says, instead of property taxes, wind farms make direct payments to the education fund. So my sense is, there won't be any new tax revenue to the town. The wind farm will pay money into the statewide education fund, which we'll probably see little or none of. But the only money the town will receive will be in the form of this proposed host community minimum payment per megawatt, which sounds like something that the town would need to negotiate with the private developer.
Right.
So I think the letter we got is really misleading and confusing.
Well, I apologize. I wrote it, so I apologize if it's either of those things. It's certainly not the intent.
I also think that,
Can I respond?
well, let me just, my other part to that is, I think the other important concept is that for this particular project, it's a project between a private developer and basically pretty much a single huge out-of-state based landowner who owns most of the 4,000 acres of ridgeline where most of the towers are going to go. So the benefit to the host is not going to property owners in IRA, it's going to go to an out-of-state land management company that happens to own land in IRA.
Well, as we went through in the presentation, there are a whole variety of economic benefits. Some of them are indirect, such as jobs. Some of them are direct in terms of like lease payments, such as you've mentioned. But back to the tax issue, you've got two grand lists. You've got your education grand list and you've got your municipal grand list. The way the laws of the state of Vermont are set up, the education, the wind farm, all the towers, all the turbines, the substation, all of that stuff is exempt from the education grand list. So it has no impact. There's no gold town status. There's no change in that. It doesn't benefit you from a standpoint of property taxes for schools, and it doesn't hurt you from a standpoint of property taxes for schools. The benefit goes entirely to the state education fund for the benefit of all the communities and all the schools in the state of Vermont. That's how the education side works. The municipal side is very different. That shows up on your municipal grand list, and it will pay municipal taxes. The reason towns have negotiated these agreements, and you're right, it's a negotiated agreement. This is the developer's offer. Okay, the town obviously could accept that offer, it could reject it, it could try to negotiate a better one. It's entirely up to you. But the bottom line is that that payment is a floor. That $11,000 per installed megawatt is a floor. Because typically what happens, especially in a town like Ira, what happens is the tax rate will be driven down by the substantial increase in assessed valuation. And the developer, the owner of the wind farm, will get the benefit of a lower tax rate, unless there's an agreement that goes beyond that to guarantee some supplemental payment. So that supplemental payment is there, the tax rate, conceivably, and under this example, in every single one of these cases, using this year's grand list, this year's budget, last year's grand list, this year's budget. In every one of these cases, the tax rate would go to zero on the municipal side, and even in the poorest case, it'd be about $80,000 left over after all the municipal taxes are paid. Depending on the size of the number of installed megawatts, those numbers could change.